Imagine stepping into a dimly lit library, the air heavy with the scent of ancient parchment and candle smoke. On the table before you lies a heavy tome bound in cracked leather, its pages filled with strange diagrams, symbols, and Latin phrases that seem to whisper secrets across the centuries. This is the world of alchemy, mysterious, misunderstood, and far more fascinating than the simple tale of turning lead into gold. Today, we're going to peel back the layers of myth and explore what alchemy really meant, why it captivated minds for over 1,000 years, and how its wisdom still speaks to us today. Alchemy has long been painted as a kind of medieval pseudoscience, a foolish attempt to literally manufacture gold out of base metals. But if you only see it that way, you miss the point entirely. The heart of alchemy was never just about material wealth, it was about transformation, and that transformation was both physical and spiritual. Alchemy was a blend of experimental science, spiritual philosophy, and symbolic storytelling. It was chemistry, religion, art, and psychology all woven together. Let's begin with the image most people know: the lonely alchemist in his stone chamber, flames flickering, glass vessels bubbling, strange powders mixing in crucibles. Yes, that image is partly true. Alchemists did experiment with matter. They discovered acids, distilled alcohol, invented laboratory glassware, but their true treasure was not always the glitter of gold. Their texts speak of the philosopher's stone, a mythical substance said to transform metals, heal sickness, and grant wisdom. Was it a literal stone? Probably not. Instead, it was a symbol of the perfected self, the highest stage of human potential. Think about the world in which alchemy thrived: ancient Alexandria in Egypt, medieval monasteries in Europe, hidden workshops in the Islamic Golden Age. These were places where knowledge was guarded, transmitted in symbols, and hidden from the uninitiated. The language of alchemy is deliberately cryptic. When a text says dissolve the green lion in the blood of the sun, it doesn't mean feeding a lion to the sunrise. It's a coded metaphor for chemical and spiritual processes. Alchemists believed the mysteries of nature were too powerful to simply write down plainly. Instead, they wrapped their wisdom in riddles. One of the most fascinating aspects of alchemy is its connection to Hermetic wisdom. The very word Hermetic comes from Hermes Trismegistus, the legendary sage, whose writings form the foundation of Western occult science. Hermetic philosophy teaches that as above, so below. That phrase is the key to understanding alchemy. The transformations of matter in the laboratory mirrored the transformations of the soul. Turn lead into gold, yes, but more importantly, turn ignorance into enlightenment. Turn the ordinary human being into something divine. Northeast. Picture yourself in Prague during the 16th century, where Emperor Rudolf I gathered alchemists, magicians, and scientists at his court. Or imagine walking the winding streets of Cairo, where Arabic scholars translated Greek texts and advanced the craft with new techniques. Alchemy was global. Chinese Taoist alchemists sought elixirs of immortality, combining herbs and minerals in pursuit of eternal life. In India, the practice of Rasa Shastra blended alchemy with Ayurveda, using mercury and other metals in sacred medicine. Everywhere alchemy appeared, it was not just about material wealth, but about touching the eternal. Of course, there was a danger in alchemy, both literal and symbolic. Mercury fumes poisoned many practitioners. Explosions were common in makeshift labs, but the real risk was spiritual: obsession, greed, and madness. Alchemical texts warn against seeking only gold, because the one who does so will find only ashes. The true seeker was after a different kind of gold, the gold of wisdom. And here's where it gets really interesting. Modern psychology, especially the work of Carl Jung, revived alchemy in the 20th century. Jung saw alchemical texts not as failed science, but as symbolic maps of the human psyche. The blackening stage, or nigredo, represented despair and chaos. The whitening, albedo, symbolized purification and clarity. The reddening, rubedo, was integration, wholeness, and enlightenment. In other words, the alchemical process was a mirror of Northeast art transformation. Every one of us goes through the crucible of life, broken down, dissolved, reformed until, hopefully, we emerge as something new. Think about the symbolism: the furnace, the crucible, the endless cycles of dissolution and recombination. That's life, isn't it? We suffer, we burn, we lose, we rebuild. Alchemy is the story of human resilience, written in the language of fire and metal. No wonder it fascinated thinkers from Isaac Newton. Yes, the great scientist himself spent countless hours on alchemical texts to poets, mystics, and adventurers across centuries. So, what is the truth about alchemy? It's this: alchemy was northeast for just about gold. It was about understanding transformation itself. It was about unlocking the hidden connections between body, spirit, and cosmos. It was about daring to believe that we, like metals, could be transmuted into something more pure, more radiant, more enduring. The temples of ancient Egypt, the libraries of Baghdad, the secret chambers of Prague, the hidden monasteries of Europe, they were all once alive with this dream. And even today, when we hear the word alchemy, something stirs in us, because deep down, we are all seekers of transformation. We all long to turn the lead of daily struggle into the gold of meaning. We all want to uncover the philosopher's stone within. So the next time you hear someone dismiss alchemy as superstition, remember, it was the seed from which modern science, medicine, and psychology grew. But more than that, it is a reminder that transformation is always possible. No matter how heavy, dull, or broken we may feel, there is always the possibility of becoming gold. And that is the true magic of alchemy. But let's go even deeper, because the world of alchemy is filled with stories that read like adventures, mysteries, and parables. Imagine, for instance, the hidden laboratories in the basements of medieval castles, where rulers secretly funded experiments in hopes of eternal life. These were not just dusty rooms with bubbling flasks. They were theaters of ambition and fear. Some monarchs believed that if they could harness the secrets of alchemy, they could rule forever. Others feared that revealing too. Another fascinating figure is Paracelsus, the Swiss physician and alchemist of the 16th century. He revolutionized medicine by insisting that illness came from external agents rather than imbalances of the four humors. In his writings, alchemy became less about the philosopher's stone and more about healing, transformation, and the hidden properties of plants and minerals. He believed that every plant carried a signature of its purpose, a concept known as the doctrine of signatures. For example, Iwan. And let's not forget the role of secrecy. Alchemical manuscripts were often written in riddles, symbols, and allegories. This wasn't just to confuse the uninitiated, it was a way of protecting dangerous knowledge from falling into the wrong hands. Knowledge, after all, was power. If you mastered distillation, if you knew how to create powerful acids, or if you could extract metals in ways others could not, you held a form of authority that went beyond kingdoms. In this sense, alchemists were both researchers. Even in literature, alchemy shines as a source of metaphor and inspiration. Think of Shakespeare's plays, where the imagery of transformation, fire, and gold often carries deeper meaning. Or consider Goethe's Faust, where the pursuit of hidden wisdom echoes the timeless danger of reaching too far. The fast, the shadow of alchemy, is everywhere in our cultural memory because it speaks to something timeless, our desire to transcend limits, to push beyond the known, and to grasp the eternal. And in the modern world, echoes of alchemy appear in places you might not expect. When we talk about the alchemy of cooking or the alchemy of love, we are drawing from this ancient tradition. When entrepreneurs speak of turning ideas into gold, they are using the very language of the old masters. Even modern chemistry, with its sleek laboratories and advanced instruments, still owes its roots to the humble alchemist hunched over his furnace, chasing mysteries by candlelight. In fact, many of the two. So let us step back and see alchemy for what it truly was: not a failed attempt at science, but a vast, symbolic language of transformation. It was a bridge between the visible and the invisible, between matter and spirit, between the laboratory and the temple. It invited its seekers to question everything. What is the nature of reality? Can the soul be purified as metals are? Can human beings become more than flesh and bone? These questions remain as powerful today as they were centuries ago. Perhaps that is why the #Temple of Secrets feels so fitting, because in many ways, the study of alchemy was like entering a temple not of stone, but of knowledge. Each text was a hidden chamber, each symbol a locked door, And the key was not always found in formulas, but in patience, intuition, and courage. The true alchemists were explorers of the unknown, willing to risk ridicule, failure, even danger, for the hope of touching eternity. So here's the final truth: alchemy is not dead. It lives on in the way we tell stories, the way we search for meaning, and the way we imagine transformation. It whispers to us when we set goals, when we rebuild after loss, when we dare to believe we can change ourselves. Gold, in the end, was just a metaphor. The real treasure was always wisdom, courage, and the willingness to see the world as full of mystery. That is the spark of alchemy, and it burns as brightly today as it did hundreds of years ago. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit that like button. It really helps the channel grow. Share this video with a friend who loves a good mystery. And if you haven't already, make sure to subscribe so you won't miss the next story. There's a lot more to uncover, and I'd love to have you along for the journey.